So the more and more the fear started reducing, the more and more I started living life to the fullest. So I followed the path of my happiness. So that became my motivation. If 1 week can give me this much transformation, what is the ultimate of meditation? See, whatever you want to achieve in life, you'll be able to achieve it only with focus. See, we're all designed for some purpose. Every soul who is born with a unique talent, is born with certain uniqueness. Every soul. So the more one meditates, the more naturally they tap onto that uniqueness. So in those days when I was meditating very intensely, I used to meditate. More, my consciousness was shifting. I was letting go of all the things which is not me. I was letting go of all the identities. In fact, I was not letting go. It's happening naturally. All the identities started falling apart. So I started seeing myself as a pure consciousness, as pure energy. I started perceiving life as an experience. All the judgments started falling apart. And initially, I started meditation to know myself, to understand what am I, what happens after death. So then later on the shift, I have to see what is my true capabilities, what is my true potential. So there were fears, a lot of fears were there, conscious fears, unconscious fears. So slowly the fears started reducing. So the more and more the fear started reducing, the more and more I started living life to the fullest. So that motivated me to continue this path. And I experimented. There were days I was not meditating, and those days I was not happy. So the day I was meditating, naturally I was happy. So my happiness was in meditation. So my happiness was in reading books. So my happiness was in spending time with the nature. So I followed the path of my happiness. So that became my motivation. So I became a researcher. So I was researching. I was researching more about myself. And that was the motivation. The transformation was the motivation. As a matter of fact, I thought I will meditate maybe for 1 week because I started as an experiment. So I thought I will do 1 week experiment and then I will continue my job and let's see what happens. Or worst case scenario, I'll do 2-3 weeks or 1 month of experiment maximum. But I had no clue that I'll be experimenting for 2.5 years. So 2.5 years, 3 years, I was experimenting very intensely. Because I thought I will finish it off, this experiment, and then I will go to job and be a normal person. But then my experiment results were so exciting. I wanted to do more. I wanted to see the ultimate of meditation. If 1 week can give me this much transformation, what is the ultimate of meditation? I wanted to see. And in that particular journey, there was a lot of pull and push within me. See, the transformation doesn't happen just in few days or just overnight. It's a slow and steady process. It's a very gradual, it's a very slow and steady process. And life was super exciting at the time. Super exciting in the sense, what others cannot perceive, I used to perceive. I was not understanding life only from the earthly dimension. I was understanding life from multiple dimensions. So it's not easy to put in words. So I was in that blissful state. I was doing the research. I was being a researcher in the spiritual science. At the same time, I was perceiving certain magic. There was a lot of magic around me. When I say magic, what I mean is what people cannot perceive in their logical mind is magic. Right? In the beginning, you cannot perceive in your logical mind. You think it's magic. But when you're able to understand the bigger picture of life, that magic becomes perfect logic. So, for example, I used to wonder, how I'm able to receive certain guidance from this space, right? From the thin air, how am I getting certain messages? How am I perceiving certain things? So it was very magical. For example, I used to do some experiments where I want certain clarity about certain thing. So I will just release a thought. I want a certain clarity. And then immediately the clarity comes. Because 24/7, I was in a meditative state. I was walking and suddenly I will see a tree and I used to communicate with the tree. I wanted answers. Then the tree will give me the answers. So the tree will act as a channel to give me the answers. So I used to become a a meditative space, completely in a witness space, get into oneness consciousness with the tree and hug the tree. Then I will instantly get whatever the clarity I want. So all these kinds of experiments I used to do. So initially it used to be magical. Then I understand it is perfectly logical. When you shift your consciousness, then naturally, when you match the higher frequency, then the communication flow happens. So my motivation was my own experiences and my own transformation. But having said that, I had the willpower that I wanted to know the truth, do or die. So that was also there. Because if you don't have that willpower, you cannot take that extreme step of quitting everything and just focusing on this. So this is where I want to highlight the importance of focus. See, whatever you want to achieve in life, you'll be able to achieve it only with focus. You can call it as focus or attention, where you are dedicating your time, your energy, your resources, your on single aspect. Naturally, you'll get it. Where there is a will, there is a way. So what was my focus at the time? My focus was I wanted to know myself. That was my focus. I wanted to know who am I? What am I? What happens after death? Where will I go after death? What is my purpose of life? Who am I? Where did I come from? Where will I go? So I wanted to understand about myself. So that was my focus. So I was in a do or die attitude. Literally, I was in a do or die attitude because that was the most important thing for me. See, I was 24 at the time. 24 years, completed my master degree there and got my permanent residency. And that is the time I have to launch my career in IT as a software engineer, where people dream of earning a lot of money and buying properties and having luxury things. So that is what was the focus of my friends and my college mates and university friends. But my focus was totally different. I was not bothered about earning money. I was not bothered about my reputation. I was not bothered about society. I was not bothered about anything. My only focus was I wanted to know myself, because this desire was there from my childhood. From a very childhood, this desire was very strong within me. It is burning within me. So for me, money I can earn anytime. That doesn't matter. But death can happen any moment. I don't want to die blind. So for me, my priority was to know the truth. Because my priority was to know the truth, I put aside everything else and I focused on this. So there was that deep desire. And with the deep desire, naturally came the willpower. And that was the first step. And when I started intense meditation, when I started my intense research, then gave the transformation. So I experienced transformation. So my experience and the shift in my own consciousness motivated me further to go deeper. To take the first step, it is my desire and willpower. But to take the second step, third step, fourth step, it is the practical transformation which motivated.